Hey guys, I wanted to make a bit of a spec comparison video here between the iPhone 5S and some of the main players in the rest of the market. You can see here I've got the iPhone 5S on the left, the Nexus 4, the HTC One, the BlackBerry Z10 and the Nokia Lumia 1020. So there's a range of different devices here, Android, BlackBerry and Windows Phone. And don't forget, this is a spec war. So specs at the end of the day are just numbers on a sheet of paper. They don't necessarily mean that one device is going to be smoother and faster than the other, but nonetheless it is interesting to check out. So we'll start off with the screen, and the iPhone 5S has the same Retina display we saw on the iPhone 5. It's still 4 inches and it still has the resolution of 1136 by 640. You can see the PPI of 326 here. That's pretty much the lowest resolution screen and the smallest screen out of all these other devices. You can see the Nexus 4 has a 4.7, HTC One 4.7, BlackBerry 4.2, Nokia Lumia 4.5, and they all have a higher resolution. Nexus 4, the BlackBerry Z10 and the Nokia Lumia all have above 720p, and the HTC One has a 1080p, and they pretty much all have a higher PPI as well. The Nexus 4 just falls short, but there really isn't that much to say. So the screen is a little bit lacking on the iPhone 5S. I really do think they need a bit of a resolution bump, but yeah, it's kind of getting a little bit dwarfed in terms of screen size and resolution compared to the rest of the market. Moving on to the processor, and I really can't tell you that much because we don't know much about the Apple A7. We don't know what clock rate it is. We don't know how many cores it's got. All we really know, well, actually, it says here custom dual core, but I'm not quite sure if that's true. But it's the main thing is it's 64-bit, and none of these other architectures are 64-bit. It's going to give you better performance in gaming and when taking pictures and just things like that. But we don't know about the RAM either, so you can see that here. The rest of them do have 2 GB of RAM. We know the Note 3 is coming out with 3 GB of RAM. I'm going to hedge a guess and say the iPhone 5S probably has somewhere between 1 and 1.5. So I think it's lacking in the RAM department. But then again, it has iOS, which is very light on its RAM, and that has to be taken into account. In terms of storage isn't that interesting. You can see you got 16, 32, 64, all the rest of them range. BlackBerry only has a 16 GB version. I kind of found this next bit kind of funny. You can see the micro SD card says never for the 5S. Nexus 4 we've got not happening, HTC One no, BlackBerry Z10 yes, and the Nokia Lumia no. So not many devices are now having the micro SD card slot. Samsung devices do tend to, but micro SD cards are kind of slipping away in terms of market. Most of the devices here you can see support LTE except the Nexus 4. So moving on to the camera, and you can see most of them do have 8 megapixel shooters except the HTC One, which has 4, but that's not really fair because it has bigger sized pixels which make it better in low light. You can also see that the HTC One has optical image stabilization. The iPhone 5S doesn't have that. A lot of the other devices also don't have that. The Nokia Lumia is ridiculous. It has a 41 megapixel camera with OSI as well. This camera it's just going to be hard to beat. I mean, those specs just jump off the page right into your face and down your throat, and they just stay there because those specs are ridiculous, right? There's not even worth talking about it because no one's going to really beat that camera. You can just see how big it is on the back of that phone. Nonetheless, the iPhone 5S doesn't have a major bump in terms of the camera. People thought it was going to be, I don't know, maybe 13 megapixel, but they didn't change the megapixel. They did change the aperture and they did change the pixel size, so it will be better. You can see here it also supports 120 FPS. So you can see here the NFC, and basically every other phone, even the BlackBerry and Windows Phone, have NFC, but the iPhone 5S does not. No idea when Apple are actually going to get this together and get NFC so you can make mobile payments. I'm not sure. They just haven't done it yet. Who knows when that's going to happen, but that is a feature that's missing on the iPhone 5S, but is on a lot of the competitors. Now you can see here we've had to add this fingerprint scanner, and you can see Touch ID. No other phone has this, so that is an exclusive for the iPhone 5S right now, and it's pretty cool. Basically, you can unlock your device with it. You can also pay for apps and things like that. Looking at the size and weight, you can see that Apple do a really good job about making a thin and light device. It comes in at 7.6 millimeters thick, which is the thinnest on this table, and it also comes in at 112 grams, which again is the lightest out of all these devices. That's kind of obvious considering it is a smaller phone. It only has a 4-inch screen, so it is always going to be kind of thinner and lighter. But yeah, that's about it, guys. You can see that Apple really isn't running away with the specs, even though they've just released it. But that's not a big shock because Apple has really never been in the spec war. And that's quite commendable because they really concentrate on user experience and they make it smoother and faster. That's what really matters. But for me, the one disappointing thing in the specs is got to be the screen. For starters, I really wish it had at least a 4.5 inch screen, but that's just me, that's just my personal preference. What I'm really disappointed in is the resolution. You can see here the same old resolution. It's not even 720p. All these other devices are kind of dwarfing it, 720p at the minimum, and we're going to see a lot more 1080p devices. So the Apple iPhone's Retina display is really kind of moving down the list in terms of resolution. So I really think Apple need to bump up that resolution. And for me, it's annoying that you can take 1080p video and you can take 720p video, but your screen on your iPhone 5S can't display it. So you're not getting the true resolution of that video. You're not getting all the quality, and that's really annoying to me. So I really think Apple do need to bump that resolution. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of these specs. Peace out.